Sometimes in everyone's life there's an inexplicable feeling that something is deeply out of alignment with the true state of things. This isn't about a fleeting discomfort or a minor disagreement, but a profound, almost whispering inner voice persistently urging, "This isn't right, it's time to move on." Perhaps an individual can't articulate this feeling, yet it remains unseen, like an inescapable shadow, always present at the periphery of consciousness. Today's narrative delves into exploring a phenomenon capable of fundamentally transforming one's perception of reality. The eminent thinker and one of the most insightful researchers of the human psyche, Carl Jung, discovered that these hidden signals are not mere coincidences. On the contrary, they are powerful messages emanating from the depths of the unconscious, urgently calling one to let go of the old, undergo a process of healing, and rediscover an authentic connection with oneself. If these lines resonate with you, it means a part of your inner world is already aware of this truth. Is your mind ready to open itself to what your own inner essence is trying to communicate? This journey promises to reveal the true self. Imagine for a moment this scenario. Day after day, you move along your life's path, and suddenly a certain heaviness begins to weigh on you. It's not physical, you can't touch it, yet it persistently accompanies you. Perhaps it's an exhausting relationship draining your vitality, or a friendship gradually eroding your self-esteem, or even a daily routine slowly but surely dimming your inner light. How familiar is this feeling? According to Jung, such a heaviness doesn't arise without reason. It's the unconscious sending a critically important signal, a red flag urging, "Stop, look within, for here lies the first great secret Jung bequeathed to us." Every feeling, every experience an individual encounters originates within their inner world. And if one fails to heed these signs, if these internal warnings continue to be ignored, this inexplicable heaviness will only steadily increase, becoming more palpable and oppressive. Consider how many times you felt an inner voice warning you about someone or something. Perhaps it was a partner who seemed perfect on the surface. They said all the right things, made impeccable gestures, yet something in your chest felt empty. Or perhaps it was a friend always by your side, but after every encounter you felt drained, as if a part of your life energy had been stolen. Carl Gustav Jung taught that such feelings are not coincidental. They are manifestations of the unconscious's language, speaking through symbols, emotions, and those intuitive premonitions that defy logical explanation, but whose reality is undeniable. In light of this, a question arises that you should ask yourself now. What signs have you ignored? Take a moment to pause. Breathe deeply. For a moment, close your eyes and focus on the person, situation, or place in your life that causes inexplicable discomfort, even if the reason for this feeling is unclear. If this image stays in your mind, that's excellent, for what you're feeling is no random whim. According to Jung, this is your shadow trying to emerge. The shadow represents that part of your being that you hide, suppress, or refuse to confront. However, Jung sought to convey an important truth. This shadow doesn't remain silent. If ignored, it begins to manifest in your life in very unexpected ways. How? Through relationships that bring suffering, through decisions that distance you from your true self, and through that inexplicable, all-consuming fatigue. Often in life, there comes a point when you find yourself trapped in circumstances that, from the outside, appear flawless. Everyone around you admires it, exclaiming, "How lucky! They're perfect for each other." Yet deep inside you feel that something is fundamentally wrong. Every minute spent with this person is accompanied by a feeling as if a part of your inner essence is slowly fading. The exact definition of this loss eludes you, but your energy steadily drains away. And then one day, delving into the works of Carl Gustav Jung, you experience an epiphany. Your unconscious, like a fervent voice, was urging you to break these bonds. This relationship was in irreconcilable conflict with your true nature, your authentic self. And when you finally found the courage to let go of this connection, the feeling was akin to air filling your lungs again, bringing long-awaited relief. A natural question arises, has this happened to you? Have you ever felt that something or someone was subtly stealing your inner light, yet you remained in that situation, guided by a false belief of necessity? Carl Gustav Jung described this phenomenon as a profound dialogue between the conscious and the unconscious. You can imagine it as if the human mind consists of two fundamental parts. One is that which is accessible to perception, which you can control and be aware of. The other is hidden, residing in the depths, invisible, yet possessing incomparably greater power. And this hidden part doesn't resort to sophisticated words or clear logic. It speaks through subtle sensations, through mysterious dreams whose meaning remains unclear, or through that inexplicable knot that suddenly forms in your stomach without any apparent external reason. It's worth considering. When was the last time you felt that inner knot? Reflecting on this might suggest that this very knot could be the key to understanding what you need to free yourself from. Imagine you find yourself at a fork in life's road. One path is bathed in light. It seems familiar and comfortable, its contours clear. It's the path that public opinion and loved ones often recommend. Maintain stability in this relationship, keep doing your usual work, don't create unnecessary problems. However, there's another path, one shrouded in darkness and uncertainty, perhaps even instilling some apprehension. Despite this, something deep within irresistibly draws you towards it. According to Carl Gustav Jung, it is this second, unexplored route that symbolizes the true path of personal development. True growth doesn't stem from the comfort zone. It originates in confronting what causes fear, challenges established beliefs, and forces you to face your own shadow. The question before each person is, which path will you choose at this moment in life? The safe, predictable trail, or the one that beckons with its unknown nature, even if the reason for this allure remains unclear? Now let's delve deeper into the concept of the shadow, as it holds paramount importance. According to Jung's teachings, every individual possesses their own shadow. It represents that part of the personality that is consciously or unconsciously hidden from the outside world. This could be suppressed anger, a deeply rooted fear of rejection, or internal insecurity carefully masked by a fake smile. The main difficulty lies in this. When a person persistently denies the existence of their shadow, it doesn't vanish without a trace. On the contrary, it begins to manifest in their life in very unexpected and uncontrollable ways. Hasn't it happened that someone suddenly lashed out at another person without understanding the true reasons for such an outburst? Or perhaps found themselves in a vicious cycle of recurring relationships that invariably ended in the same way? This is the voice of the shadow, desperately crying out, "Acknowledge me, I need you to accept and integrate me." Jung emphasized that the process of integrating the shadow does not mean striving for absolute perfection. Rather, it is a path to its acceptance, deep understanding, and ultimately utilizing its energy for one's own healing and wholeness. When reflecting on your social circle, you sometimes discover individuals whose presence or actions invariably cause deep irritation. This could be a colleague prone to constant criticism, or a relative expertly finding ways to unbalance you. According to Carl Gustav Jung's teachings, such encounters are not random coincidences in an individual's life path. Such a person, in his view, serves as a kind of mirror, reflecting the observer's inner world. What so strongly upsets or angers you in another often turns out to be an unaccepted or suppressed part of your own self. What would happen if, instead of the usual urge to argue or conflict, you paused and asked yourself, what exactly does this episode or quality in another person tell me about my own personality? This is the true magic of the Jungian approach. The ability to transform external contradictions and internal discomfort into profound self-knowledge. There is another fundamental truth capable of profoundly impacting everyone. An individual's energy is something truly sacred. Indeed, this statement should be taken with utmost seriousness. Personal energy, that invisible spark that awakens you in the morning, inspires dreams, fuels the ability to love and create, belongs exclusively to its owner. Yet how often is this precious substance handed over to others? How many times do you allow others to steal it, driven by the false belief that you are obligated to stay put or please those around you? According to Jung, every such instance where an individual relinquishes their inner power sends a powerful message to their unconscious: I am not valuable enough. And this, without a doubt, is a distorted reality that it is extremely important to abandon immediately. Let's do a brief thought exercise. Consider a person whose presence in your life, after interaction, leaves you feeling completely drained. Once you have such a person in mind, you can imagine them as a so-called energy vampire, not literally, of course, but in terms of their impact on your inner state. Every interaction, every encounter with such a person noticeably depletes your strength and life energy. A natural question arises: why do you continue to allow such depletion? Perhaps the reason is a deeply rooted fear of loneliness, or a feeling of guilt, or simply not knowing effective ways to set personal boundaries. In the context of these reflections, it's appropriate to recall Carl Gustav Jung's call, who emphasized the necessity of protecting one's inner energetic resources. He insisted that this is not an act of selfishness, but an act of deep self-worth and self-love. For it is only when you consciously protect your energy that you begin to function from a state of inner power and resourcefulness, rather than from chronic exhaustion. It must be acknowledged, however, that this path is not easy. The process of listening to your own unconscious, bravely confronting your shadow, and decisively letting go of everything that no longer serves your personal development. All these steps require significant courage and inner readiness. However, beyond these difficulties lies an undeniable reward. When you consciously walk this path, profound transformations occur in your life. Your existence begins to feel more effortless, lighter, and authentic, aligning with your true essence. Moreover, those previously unnoticed signals and hidden signs that were once ignored now transform into reliable guides on your life's journey. Thus the question arises: what are you ready to let go of today to facilitate the healing of your inner world? It's worth reflecting deeply on this as we continue this shared journey of self-discovery. Those who have reached this stage of the narrative are undoubtedly driven by an inner desire for deeper understanding. We are about to continue exploring those hidden signs that the eminent psychoanalyst Carl Jung proposed we interpret. For, as asserted, the human unconscious can reveal significantly more information than appears at first glance. Has it ever happened that you perceived your relationships with others as an exhausting struggle against a powerful current? You exert colossal effort, striving to harmonize connections, yet every action turns into an insurmountable confrontation. Constant misunderstandings, conflict situations, a persistent feeling that, despite all attempts, something fundamental remains damaged or unfixable. Such feelings should be listened to carefully. According to Jung's teachings, such a state of chaos is not a manifestation of bad luck or coincidence. Rather, it is your unconscious persistently leading you to an uncomfortable but important truth. These relationships are not in harmony with your true essence. Take a moment to pause. Let yourself reflect on the person with whom you constantly feel this inner resistance. Let this thought firmly settle in your mind. Now imagine that every difficulty arising in communication with this individual is not a punitive hand of the universe, but acts as a significant message. Carl Jung was convinced that human relationships serve as mirrors, reflecting our inner world. If there is continuous conflict, if you feel compelled to adapt or adjust to another, this is not merely a temporary difficulty. It is a clear signal that something in this connection is distancing you from your authentic self. And here arises a difficult question, requiring an honest answer. What are you sacrificing to maintain these relationships? Let's consider a revealing case that will likely resonate. Imagine a situation where someone is with a person who seemingly cares for them, but only on the condition of their transformation. Perhaps they demand, "Be more open, don't be so sensitive, adjust to my expectations." And this person, driven by a desire for harmony in the relationship, begins to adjust their behavior. They hide their true emotions, pretending to be someone they are not. Initially, such an approach might create an illusion of success, but over time, the individual feels a profound loss of their own essence. This experience is familiar to many. According to Jung's views, this feeling of loss is not a mistake at all. On the contrary, it is the unconscious signaling a betrayal of one's own authenticity. And when you betray who you truly are, your inner peace irrevocably leaves you. Now, it's appropriate to focus on the phenomenon of authenticity, as it contains the key idea that Jung sought to convey to us. Authenticity is not just about being yourself, as popular slogans sometimes oversimplify. This concept carries a much deeper meaning. It implies existing without any masks, without ostentatious pretense, without the need to distort your nature or forcibly conform to external, imposed frameworks. However, here lies a fundamental contradiction. Modern society relentlessly pushes individuals away from this inner authenticity. From early childhood, people are taught conformity, strict adherence to established rules, avoidance of any conflict situations, and gradually the individual loses a true understanding of their own identity. Do you feel a loss of this deep connection with yourself? If the answer to this question is affirmative, then understand, such an experience is not an exception, and many share this feeling. Let's take a moment to reflect on dreams, but not those that come in sleep, although Carl Gustav Jung did pay close attention to them in his analyses. We're talking about those cherished aspirations that once made your eyes sparkle, about goals that filled life with meaning. Perhaps you dreamed of distant travels, of creating something truly outstanding, or simply of a life filled with genuine inspiration. The question arises, where are these dreams now? If they seem to have faded or disappeared entirely, it's worth asking who or what might have extinguished that inner fire. According to Carl Gustav Jung's profound conviction, those around us exert a colossal influence on the human psyche. If you are surrounded by those who constantly doubt your abilities, who make you feel insignificant, these cherished dreams inevitably get buried under layers of insecurity and internal barriers. However, there is also encouraging news. These dreams can absolutely be brought back into the light. Illustrative in this context is my personal experience. Many years ago, I had a significant dream to create something that would bring tangible benefit to others. But unfortunately, I was surrounded by people who, perhaps without ill intent but with unwitting harm, constantly told me, "That's too risky, it's better to stay in your comfort zone." Gradually, I began to yield to these beliefs. My enthusiasm started to wane, and the energy needed to realize my vision dissipated. This continued until one day, delving into Jung's works, I realized a profound truth. It wasn't about the people around me. It was I who allowed their voices to drown out my own inner voice, my true calling. When I managed to distance myself from these destructive influences, when I let go of that persistent need for external validation, my dream found its breath again and came alive with new vigor. And now the only question that remains is, which dream of yours is waiting to be rescued? Once again, it's time for a short pause, during which you are invited to take a deep breath and survey your immediate surroundings. The question arises, who surrounds you in your daily life? Are these individuals who can inspire you to authentic self-expression and growth, or are they, on the contrary, those who suppress your true potential, making you feel insignificant and limited? For, according to one of the profound truths formulated by Carl Gustav Jung, interpersonal relationships largely determine and shape one's subjective reality. When an individual is surrounded by those who systematically undermine their self-worth, their unconscious immediately perceives these destructive impulses and begins to send alarming signals. These warnings can manifest as inexplicable chronic fatigue, in recurring conflicts whose outcomes are always predictable, or in a constant feeling of inner emptiness and a lack of something vitally important. In this regard, a natural question arises, what would happen if you gathered the courage and decided to break ties with such people, freeing yourself from their influence? It is crucial to understand clearly that the act of letting go is by no means equivalent to surrender or a display of weakness. It does not mean retreating or giving up the fight when encountering the first obstacles on your life's path. On the contrary, it is a conscious acknowledgement that certain things or specific individuals no longer align with your current life path and do not contribute to your further development. Carl Gustav Jung extensively discussed the concept of individuation in his works, a complex and multifaceted process aimed at becoming one's authentic, unique self. To successfully navigate this process, it sometimes requires consciously freeing yourself from everything that binds you, tying you to outdated patterns of the past, and preventing you from moving beyond a habitual, limited existence. You can imagine your life as a boat moving with the current. If this boat is constantly overloaded with excessive, unnecessary ballast, it will never be able to move lightly and freely, reaching new horizons. In this metaphor, the question arises, what burden are you currently carrying that you could shed to gain true lightness and freedom of movement? You must be utterly frank, for this circumstance is of paramount importance. In everyone's life there are relationships destined to fail. Yes, that is precisely the case. The reason lies not in personal imperfection or a lack of effort, but in a profound mismatch between these connections and your true essence. As Carl Jung asserted, attempting to resist such a state of affairs is akin to resisting the universe itself. How many times have you tried to fix what is steadily crumbling? How many times have the words been spoken, "This time the situation will change," only to find yourself in the exact same position? Afterward? Such cyclicality is by no means accidental. It is your subconscious or unconscious persistently signaling that this phenomenon or relationship is not meant for you. However, there is also a truly remarkable side to this process. When you decide to free yourself from what burdens you, you don't remain in emptiness. On the contrary, you create free space for something entirely new to emerge. Have you ever noticed that after breaking off destructive relationships, a person suddenly appears who is capable of true understanding and deep perception of your essence? This is not magic. It is a phenomenon that Carl Jung termed synchronicity. When an individual achieves harmony with their inner truth, the universe immediately responds. The necessary people enter your life, new opportunities open up, and you begin to feel the fullness of existence once again. Isn't this feeling of completeness what everyone strives to achieve? Now is the time to delve into self-love, for it is the unshakable foundation of all existence. The renowned psychologist Carl Jung asserted that true attachment to other people only becomes possible after an individual finds love for themselves. Moreover, this feeling extends far beyond simple positive affirmations spoken in front of a mirror. It manifests in concrete actions, in the ability to protect yourself, in the skill of firmly setting personal boundaries, in the readiness to prefer solitude over staying with someone who causes pain. A natural question arises: have you currently achieved such a degree of self-love? Or, to rephrase, do relationships that cause suffering continue simply because you are convinced you don't deserve better? It's worth reflecting deeply on this. Every time an individual says an affirmative yes in response to the demands of those who deplete their resources, they are effectively denying themselves. The unconscious, this deep level of the psyche, unfailingly registers each such decision, responding with alarming signals. It could be increasing anxiety, chronic fatigue, or a persistent feeling of inner disharmony. However, when you decide to say a firm no to everything that doesn't serve your well-being, when you consciously choose inner peace instead of destructive chaos, you send a powerful message to your inner world. I care for myself. I am worthy of well-being. And this becomes the starting point for true healing. I suggest performing one important exercise. Before this text concludes, you are invited to create a list. For this, you will need paper and a pencil. Write down 3 things or names of people in your life that, according to your inner feeling, hinder your growth or hold you back. Don't overthink it. Just note down the first things that come to mind. Once the list is ready, next to each item, it's recommended to note your own feelings that arise in the presence of these factors or people, perhaps a feeling of fatigue, deep sadness, or worthlessness. This list serves as a kind of map, pointing to those hidden signs that, as Jung emphasized, should never be ignored. What you choose to do next is a personal decision for each individual, but the author promises that continued mindful self-listening will undoubtedly point the way. You have reached the culmination of this profound journey. If you've made it this far, it means you're ready not just to complete a certain stage, but to embark on active steps. The great thinker Carl Jung left behind not just a collection of academic theories, but a kind of guiding map for the profound transformation of human existence. Now, this precious, wisdom-filled map is available to anyone ready to use it. In previous discussions, we touched upon hidden signs that point the way, aspects of the human shadow, draining interpersonal relationships, and the liberating power of letting go. However, it's time to move further. We will explore what happens when one decides to heal their inner world and begin living in harmony with their authentic self. For this process doesn't end with simply letting go, it culminates in true rebirth. Imagine for a moment what your life would be like if you allowed yourself to be completely authentic, shedding all masks and freeing yourself from the fear of others' opinions. How would you feel waking up each morning knowing you are living in full harmony with your deepest essence? According to Carl Jung, this very state represents wholeness, the true purpose of human existence. Such a state does not imply a complete absence of problems or the attainment of some perfection. Rather, it means the ability to listen to your unconscious, integrate aspects of your own shadow, and align your interpersonal relationships and life decisions with who you truly are in your authentic nature. Are you ready for such a transformation? Take a moment to pause and reflect deeply. Recall that special moment in your life when you felt completely whole and authentic. It could have been something utterly insignificant, like a genuine, carefree laugh when all thoughts of external perception vanished, or something monumental, making a crucial decision that, despite universal disagreement and challenge, felt internally like the only right choice. Have you managed to rekindle that feeling? That is your inner compass, an infallible guide. This is what the eminent thinker Jung called the self, the true core of your being. When an individual begins to live from this profound center, their entire reality transforms. However, to reach this sacred space, you must release and leave behind everything that pulls you away from it. Next, it's appropriate to consider more subtle signs, because the path to self-discovery doesn't always lead through chaos or open conflict. Sometimes your unconscious speaks to you in whispers, not deafening shouts. Have you ever felt an inexplicable but powerful pull towards something new? Perhaps it was a desire to visit a certain place, a persistent idea that wouldn't leave your mind, or a person who inspired you for no apparent reason. Jung would undoubtedly assert that such phenomena are not mere coincidences. These are your unconscious guiding you towards your own growth and development. Nevertheless, responding to this inner call means taking a risk, stepping beyond the familiar and known. Are you ready to take that step? Let me share something that might surprise many. Recently, one person felt an inexplicable pull towards something that completely defied their usual understanding. It was an idea that seemed utterly insane, not conforming to generally accepted notions of what one should do, yet it was so powerful it couldn't be ignored. An inner voice, intuition, persistently whispered, "Do it." And when they decided to follow that call, the result surpassed all expectations. It not only became one of their best works, but resonated with people in an unforeseen way. This phenomenon perfectly illustrates Jungian synchronicity in action. When you begin to heed these subtle signs, the universe seems to meet you halfway, opening new possibilities. What subtle, barely noticeable sign are you currently ignoring? However, this path is by no means always easy and cloudless. Dark days, periods of trials, and internal conflicts are inevitable. Carl Gustav Jung was keenly aware of this truth. He stated, "There is no awakening of consciousness without pain, and the truth of his words is hard to dispute. Healing your inner world requires the courage to confront those aspects of yourself you've diligently avoided. These could be deep-seated fears, old unhealed wounds, or that biting inner voice that constantly tells you you're not good enough. But here lies the key difference. This pain is not an enemy. Rather, It acts as a wise teacher. Every tear shed, every tormenting doubt, every moment of inner chaos, these are unique opportunities to know yourself more deeply, to discover who you truly are. What is your pain teaching you at this very moment? Imagine your life as a blank canvas. Every relationship, every decision you make is like a brushstroke, leaving its mark. But sometimes you suddenly realize you're using someone else's colors, painting with hues that aren't your own. Perhaps it's the vibrant, insistent red of demands from those who expect too much, or the muted, dreary gray of a routine that brings no satisfaction. What would happen if you took the brush into your own hands and began to create, using only your own unique colors? Jung would undoubtedly say that it is at this moment that your life transforms into a true work of art. And for this transformation, you must release the brushes that do not belong to you, freeing yourself from external influences and expectations. It should be noted that the world around us desperately needs everyone's authenticity. Indeed, when an individual is in harmony with their true essence, they not only contribute to the healing of their own inner world, but also become a powerful source of inspiration for others, encouraging them to follow the same path. The scale of such influence is truly immeasurable when someone decides to free themselves from burdensome relationships that stifle their spirit, when they consciously choose to protect their life energy or dare to pursue that cherished dream that was once buried. They are not merely transforming their own existence. Such an act becomes an unspoken permission for others to take similar steps. Doesn't such a chain reaction of change possess incredible power? Let's do a small mental exercise. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine yourself releasing everything that oppresses your soul and burdens your existence, draining relationships, crippling fear, the limiting belief in your own unworthiness. Then, visualize something ephemeral like smoke rising from your hands, ascending skyward, and dissolving without a trace into infinity. After such an experience, the question inevitably arises, how do you feel at that moment? Don't you feel an immense sense of relief? It is in this act of liberation that the true power of letting go and moving forward lies. As the eminent psychologist Carl Jung would assert, this newly formed empty space is by no means the end point, but rather a true and fertile beginning. It is the very place where your authentic, real life begins to blossom in all its splendor. For everyone who hears this message, the inevitable question arises, what will you do today? For this address is not just a collection of information meant for passive reception and subsequent forgetting. On the contrary, it represents a powerful call to immediate action. The message urgently urges you to make a pivotal decision before it concludes. Choose just one thing you are ready to give up or let go of to begin the process of healing your inner world. This could be a long-held grievance, a limiting belief, or a negative habit. Perhaps for some, this step will be having a long-overdue conversation. For another, setting clear and healthy boundaries in relationships, and for a third, actively pursuing a cherished dream that until now remained merely an unfulfilled wish. What will it be for you? Remember, true change doesn't wait. It begins within you, with your inner choice, and it happens right now, in the present moment. Profound gratitude is extended to those who have been present, listened carefully to these words, and demonstrated the courage necessary for inner transformation. The path of life is always abundant with limitless possibilities, and everyone possesses the inner strength to choose their own path and determine how to live their allotted time. Therefore, you are invited to dare to take this important step, to heal your inner world. It is strongly recommended that you take this step, for the modern world desperately needs people like those ready for inner change, authentic in their expressions, strong in spirit, and deeply connected to their true selves. It is important to remember tirelessly that any significant change in the world begins precisely with personal transformation.